Welcome back to the 9th episode of the Dose Podcast. I know I always say the same thing at the start. It's been, 2 months since we last recorded, but hey, we got stuff to do. Do you know what I mean? But my name's T. I'm the owner of Yak, and I'm with my mentor, Tony.
Hey, what's good, y'all? This is Mr. Wonderful, a.k.a. Gas Pump Tony, looking for something young, tender, and ready to surrender.
Just like that. So, if you can't tell from my voice is a little bit hoarse. I've been a little bit ill recently, but you already know the motto. We charge it to the game and keep it pushing, bro. So today we're doing a little Q&A. Going through some questions, answering them for you guys, and just really breaking the game down as we know it. So, first question. Let me just scroll through. So someone said, what could Steve Harvey have done there? So, for those who don't know, Steve Harvey is a TV celebrity person.
And yeah, he's like a TV celebrity. I say he would he positioned himself as like a mentor figure now too lately.
Yeah, he's probably in his 50s or 60s, and he was on I don't know if he still does it, to be honest, but TV show Family Feud, huge in America, and he's worth $100 million, all that kind of thing. And it was recently found out that allegedly his wife cheated on him with his, I think it was bodyguard and his chef. So what this brother's asking is, what could Steve Harvey have done better? But Tony, take it away.
Well, me personally, I got to go back a little bit because I just happen to know some shit about this situation, and it might not apply all the time, but I'm going to bring it up anyways. So Steve Harvey actually had a bitch that came up with him all the way. A lot of people don't know this, but Steve Harvey, from the time that he was doing the Kings of Comedy, he wasn't making any money. There was a time when he was like a D-list comedian, didn't have nothing. So he had a bitch who rode with him all the way from sleeping in the car, touring, doing comedy shows, all the way up to his show, to having the Steve Harvey show and all that shit. So he actually had a ride or die down bitch the whole way. And he divorced her to go get with a bitch, 15 years younger than her. So to begin with, that motherfucker's paying the consequences of throwing a down bitch to the side who was there when he had nothing. He had a bitch who loved him for him and who wanted him for him, and he threw that away to go trick, basically. Essentially, he left her to go get with the bitch who wanted him for his money. He met a bitch who met him as a rich man and desired him as a rich man, as opposed to what? A bitch who loved him for who he was. So he played the tricks game, and now he is paying the tricks price. Now, on top of that, I do believe in loyalty, and I do believe in honoring a marriage. And I know that might sound funny to some people who don't understand, given the lifestyle that I've lived before in the past. But regardless, I believe very firmly in the commitment of marriage. Once you commit. It's a life you live. So he really just played one game on one bitch and had the game played back. That's, what happened. Now, some people may not choose to believe that that's some type of karma for playing your bitch, and that's fine. I believe it is some type of karma. But then on top of that, I also know he left a down bitch who was with him through everything to go trick. And when you play the trick game, you pay the trick's price. And that's exactly what the fuck he's going through right now. So what could he have done different? I mean, how could he have played the game any differently? He played the trick's game. We could sit here and we could debate on, maybe if you're fucking 65 years old and you look like Mr. Potato Head, you shouldn't go out and try to get some light-skinned bitch that looks like a supermodel. Maybe you should be more realistic with the fact that if you're old, you can't break a young bitch's back the way you think you can. So we can go through that, any direction you want to play it. To begin with, he fucked up. He made a very foolish move to begin with. If you want to say, if you want to do some stupid shit and then not have to pay the consequences, well, then that's not really a question you should be asking yourself. You should realize the situation. But with all that being said, he approached that woman. He didn't get that bitch because of who he was. He got that bitch because of who he was. You know, it wasn't because he was this great man with great advice. You know, he got that bitch because he's Steve Harvey. You know, if he was another man who had the same advice, but he didn't have a show on TV, he wouldn't have got that bitch. So it's but natural for a young, tender bitch to want something like her, young and tender. Bitches desire young men the same way men desire young women. You know, women have this thing where they have this false sense of virtue. People just believe that women are just these noble creatures who don't care about money and don't care about youth. They just want love. And no, anybody who's ever been to a bar before and been hit on by older ladies knows how much sicker women are, you know, when they don't have to hide who they are, when they don't have to hide what they're about. You know, those kind of people realize, the kind of guys who get a lot of attention from women realize what kind of dogs women really are. You know, if you've ever never been to a bar and you've never had an older married woman trying to cheat on her husband to fuck you because you're young and pretty, then you don't understand what women really are. Women are equated with this false sense of virtue. And Steve Harvey had to pay that price. And unfortunately, the same thing with him trying to use his fame to catch some young pretty bitch and betray his faithful wife. Now he's gonna get cuck shamed and drug on the internet in front of millions of people because that same fame he tried to use to get bitches is gonna be the same fame that humiliates him when those bitches play him. So that's all I got on the situation. Basically, I just think he fucked up leaving his wife, you know, who was loyal with him in bad times, to go get with some bitch who's only there for the good times.
And the principle, I'm not sure which religion or where it really stemmed from, but it's called karmic retribution. Essentially, just the idea of you reap what you sow. So you telling that story about he had that one girl who was from the bottom and went all the way to the top of him, and then he just cut her up like that. I mean, as you said, he played that game and then he won that prize. So essentially, it's on him. We can really say what he could do better because we don't know the exact situation. But fundamentally, as a man, there's something that he lacked that the other people had. Obviously, he's in his 50s or 60s, so he has certain limitations as it is. And likely the personal trainer and the chef will be in their 20s or 30s. So that even of itself is just kind of an indication into the kind of things that she would have more desired than he had. As Tony said, yeah, he's got the money, but if you're doing certain things, you can't move the same way at 60 than you can when you was 20 or 30. So that's just the way the game goes. And if he's trying to finesse himself, trying to play himself, and all you can do is blame and really just take on the chin when he's getting laughed at on the internet. So really and truly, it's just a matter of understanding your position in the game, understanding where you are on the chessboard. Like, he's essentially completed the chessboard, but he wanted to come back to a different spot. I mean, now look at everything that is going to happen if it is true. Which, I mean, I don't know why rumors would just randomly come out that his girl's cheating. But yeah, the game's cold, and if you try to play the game in a way that isn't congruent with who you are and where you are on the chessboard, there's going to be certain consequences that come with that. So let's go on to the next question. Let's go on to, he said, "Hey King, what's your opinion on altercation with three people mean mugging you? Do you avoid?" Now, what I'll say on this is, I've done boxing for I did it in 2021 as kind of a fight, but then it didn't quite transpire. I've also been doing it most of 2023, and what I'll say with boxing is, it's one of the coldest sports out there. The idea of boxing isn't that you're just going around fighting people. The idea is the discipline that it instills in you, the mental resilience which is forced upon you when you're doing 8 rounds of sparring, and after the 4th round, you're completely out of breath. You can't even nose breathe no more. It's all straight mouth, and you're finished. That's what boxing does. So me personally, if it's an altercation with 3 people, just run, bro. Just run. Like, you're not super bad. You don't have unlimited lives. You can't respawn. Like, all it takes is for one of them to punch you in a certain way, one of them to pull a knife on you, one of them to pull a gun on you, and it's game over, bro. So in a situation like that, you just have to put your ego to the side and keep it pushing.
As far as I'm concerned with this person, whoever's asking this question, you're not from the hood. I can tell you that right now just by the fact you're asking this question. So my opinion is you need to get the fuck out the jungle. Wherever you're going, where you're seeing some shit like this, you need to just pretend like you don't fucking see it. Because for you to be noticing people looking at you a certain way, what does that mean? It means you're somewhere you don't belong. If people are staring you down, they don't know who the fuck you are. And the only place you could be where people are going to be staring you down, like what the fuck are you doing? You don't belong here, is somewhere you don't fucking belong, like the hood. They're probably sizing you up to see what the fuck you got on you so they can take it from you. You are somewhere where you don't belong. And the fact that you don't know what to do lets me know you don't know where the fuck you are and what the consequences are. This is your life. Basically, dude's somewhere where he don't belong. You know, he's somewhere where the consequences are very serious. And if you don't take it very seriously, you will lose your life very easily. This guy's somewhere he doesn't belong. And the fact that he doesn't know what to do in a situation like this goes to show that he doesn't belong in this fucking situation. I've been to every hood in America, all the bad ones, Kansas City, Memphis, Chicago. You know, I've been to New Jersey. I've been to Seattle. I've been to every neighborhood in America, every ghetto in America, and I never got fucked with. And the only reason I never got fucked with is not because those dudes are punks, and it's not because I'm so hard. The reason I never got fucked with was because when I go to the hood, I don't stand out. They don't look at me and see, you know, someone that doesn't belong there. They look at me and they see that I belong. So I'm not gonna get fucked with. Even if I'm from Cali and they're from New York, even if I'm from Cali, they're not gonna fuck with me because I belong. Because I look like I belong. I don't stand out. Wherever you're going, you stand out. And the fact that you don't know what to do, and the fact that you stand out goes to show that you don't fucking belong there. Because you could be the fastest motherfucker in the world. You could have a gun on you, nigga. You could have a gun on you. And you could pull it out faster than them three. You still doing the rest of your life in prison. Or you getting shot by their homie that you don't even know is right behind you. You got no idea what kind of situation you're in. You guys don't know how serious this shit is. If you don't know how to talk yourself out of a situation like that or not put yourself in a situation where you don't belong and your life is at risk, then you need to go the fuck home, stay home, you know, go to the gym, go hang out with your friends, go eat some lunch. But wherever the fuck you're at, you see a situation like that and you don't know what to do, you need to get yourself out that fucking situation. Period. There really ain't no way around it. You don't realize the kind of consequences you're playing with. You know, you definitely don't belong in this situation and you don't know what to do. You're not street smart. Get the fuck out the situation, my boy. What you got, T?
So what you just ended with, just really about social awareness. Like, even if you're John Jones, you understand that in a street fight, when you're out and about, anything goes. So as a result, just the odds just don't make sense. Okay, let's say you do manage to fight these three people and you win. Okay, cool. You managed to do what you do. You get that little ego boost. But chances of that happening compared to the chances of you losing limbs or you losing your life, much higher. Like, just literally run the numbers, bruv. Does it really even make sense to bother, to care that someone's been mugging you? Like, some people are just miserable. Just let them be miserable. You don't have to go out of your way to do anything. Just don't even acknowledge their presence. And I've been in situations to where I've also had three people mean mugging me. You just have to understand that you're in the losing position. So you have to position your way in order to get out and to also in order to make sure that you don't provoke them in any way, shape or form. Because as I said, run the numbers. You're not in the winning position, even if you do know how to fight. So it don't even make any sense to consider getting into that scenario. So let's go on to another question. Let's go on to, how do I stop fumbling girls that show clear interest in me? I start acting autistic. And that really comes down to, it's a mindset, bro. Like, if it was a 4, it was a 3 for the woman who you weren't too bothered by, you just be chilling. You wouldn't have any kind of pressure on yourself. You wouldn't be thinking about the words that you're saying is going to be having a good time because you are in a certain way. As soon as it becomes a 7 or 8, 9, whatever, that's when things begin to change, and that's when you start fumbling because you're thinking in your own head, damn, this person, this woman, someone who is very good looking. So as a result, you just put them on the pedestal, and that's when you start moving like a square. That's just what a square is in terms of the mindset. So you need to work on your mindset. You need to understand who you are and what you can actually provide. And then as a result, that's when you're no longer going to be fumbling the bag on yourself. But also, it comes down to your perspective as well. Meaning, if you understand that there's 1,000 fish in the ocean and you fumble the bag on one, you understand there's 999 other ones in there. But if you think that there's only 5 fish in the ocean and you fumble one, and there's only 4 left. So really and truly, it's just about elevating damn near every aspect of your life. But Tony, what have you got to say on this?
Man, you know what? That's crazy that you went with the abundance mindset thing because I didn't even think to put that 2 and 2 together. And it's not that it's not right or it's not wrong. You know, it's really you just had a problem and you mindset to pull you through the problem. And it's like having a tool. You know, like anything's a hammer if you're strong enough. But you use the game of the abundance mindset to go to show. Well, why am I worried about fumbling this bitch when I'm gonna have another bitch tomorrow? And you know, is that the right or wrong answer? I mean, it's the right answer, obviously, because it's what the fuck you're gonna do. But for me, I didn't even go with the abundance mindset. Me personally, I just thought, you know, instead of worrying about what you're saying, you need to wonder about who you are. You know, you need to put out, this is what I'm about, and this bitch can either get with it or not. You know what I mean? Just doubling down on your own person. You know, this motherfucker's worried about if he says a joke, if it's not funny. If he wears this shirt, does it not look good? And what I'm saying is what you need to be wondering about is who you are, representing yourself as a real fucking man, representing yourself as a real man. Knowing that what you say has value, knowing that who you are is valuable, you're going to catch that bitch. And I was just really impressed with the fact that you used a completely different mindset than I did. But at the end of the day, you applied a mindset for the problem, solve the problem. So this just goes to show you guys how cold the game is because he might have a completely different answer than me, but we both using the game. You know, he might be speaking Russian and I might be speaking Portuguese, but we both spitting some game. So he used the abundance mindset, whereas my belief is in a situation like that, whenever you're not sure about a situation, you know, instead of worrying about what you're going to say, time is gonna tell. You know, you're always going to not know what to say. You're gonna have that same mentality problem if that's your problem. You're not going to know what to say. You're not going to know if the situation's awkward. You're not going to know if the girl liked you, so on and so forth. You're never going to be sure. The only way to be sure is to just be sure that you have value by developing a certain person. You know, do you think you got to have some slick shit to say to have a bitch? What if you're just a good man? What if you're just a hell of a man with some shit going for him? You don't have to have no slick shit to say. Slick shit to say is for people that don't have anything going for them. And that's where I'm coming from. I just wanted to say that was really dope that you used a completely different tool than I did. You came from a completely different direction.
Absolutely. And what we just touched on is a good segue into the biggest problem which most men have nowadays. Not even just with women, just generally in life. That they don't have any sort of self belief. They don't have any kind of core foundation which they can build a confidence upon. Like if you've not achieved anything like significant in your life, even if it's like a sporting achievement, if it's making X amount of money, if it's going to X places, but you don't have anything which you can build a belief system on. You don't have anything in which you can actually go out and apply to the world. So then as a result, that's why you overthink things. That's why you don't have that belief in yourself to where you're not too bothered about the words that come out of your mouth because you understand that your belief transcends that. And it's deep because think about Conor McGregor. And what I recommend all of you to do is when Conor McGregor first came into the UFC, or even when he was in that other fight organization, listen to some of his older interviews because within him, you'd be able to see that inner belief that he had in himself. Like he was completely and utterly delusional. But then that transcended into a belief which allowed him to become the double champion of the UFC, the first ever. And I mean, now he's worth 9 figures. Obviously, he's fallen off now because his beliefs have gotten away. Meaning, as opposed to focusing his beliefs on a certain goal, he focuses his beliefs on becoming essentially just a degenerate. And now he's just doing, I'm not going to say the stuff he's doing, but obviously everyone knows that he's kind of fallen off. But the biggest problem that men have is that they don't have that belief in themselves. They don't have anything which they can recall or attach themselves to. So as a result, they can't have anything which they can essentially go back to and say, okay, yeah, this is who I am. And as a result, that's why they're not able to do the things that they could.
Yeah, man. I mean, he don't have nothing to say because he don't have nothing to talk about. The conversation hits way different when you've elevated who you are as a man and when you've accepted that who you are is enough. One of the students in my school talks about that, how he comes home from a date now with the girl, and instead of wondering, oh man, did I fuck up when I said this? Did I bumble this? I wonder if she really likes me. He says he goes to sleep without thinking about it. And he says, man, that bitch likes me because of who I am. And if she doesn't, fuck her because I like who I am. And I mean, it doesn't get better than that. It doesn't get better than feeling like that and thinking like that, you know?
And it's the subtleties in life to where it's not a big thing to go from, okay, yeah, well, if she likes me, to either does like me or she doesn't. But it's one of them things that just changes absolutely everything about you. Because as opposed to him thinking previously, oh, like, I wonder if I said this thing, oh, did I use the wrong tonality? Oh, I shouldn't have used that facial expression. It's almost just like you're overthinking things that don't even matter. And you're just running scenarios in your head that haven't taken place. And as a result, that's when you go into the stage which a lot of men get into, to where just analyzing everything, and then that leads to paralysis, and then that's when they're scared to do things because they're overthinking everything. That's when everything falls by the wayside. But when you know who you are, when you know the levels that you have attained and will attain, there ain't no competition, bro. Zero.
No, there's not. You know, and that's like one small step, you know? Okay, you can develop a little bit of conversation. That's a small step. You know how to tell a little joke and it goes well. That's a small step. But when you've developed who you are as an individual and you develop something of value that you know bitches are gonna like, that's a huge step. You know, stop focusing on the small steps and start focusing on the big steps. You know what I mean? You guys are worried about such small shit that doesn't really get you anywhere. And it's not your fault. You just don't know any better. You know, but you guys need to stop thinking about the small steps and start thinking about the big steps. Just like you motherfuckers that read books. You read 1,000 books on business, but you never opened up your business. You know, you never went and got a tax ID number. Never went and got incorporated, never went and got an LLC, never went and got a business license. You know, well, what do you think is more progress? Reading 1,000 books about how to start a business or just starting the business already, even if you don't have nothing else to attach to it? You know, which one's really making more progress? You guys need to start thinking about progress. You guys need to start thinking about motion and getting in motion. That's going to help you a lot versus these small questions where even if we answer them, it's not going to help you as much as you think it's going to help you because it's just going to leave you with another question. Versus, like T said, if you know who you are, then everything has an answer. You have an answer for everything. T has an answer for everything. I have an answer for everything because we know who we are. We can answer your question, and you're just going to have another question because you don't know who you are. You know, and this is something you can fix. This is not some way you have to live. You know, we're not born special. We're born with the same brain you got. We just decided to live a certain way and we decided to become a certain thing. And we're not there anymore to where we have to ask these kinds of questions. You know, thank God.
And it goes so deep because people don't realize that through the questions that you ask, you're revealing who your true character is. Like, for example, one of the people asked on my Q&A, I'm going to pull it up because we was literally speaking about this earlier. And he said, what is the worst question you've been asked and why? Tony and I were laughing because that's damn near one of the worst questions that you can ask. Because what I view questions as a route to get to where you want to go. So let's say if you're wanting to play football, for example. So what you do is you position yourself to be around the best possible football players possible, or you would pay someone, let's say an ex-pro, to teach you the ins and outs of how to go pro. And then through that, you'll be asking them questions in terms of, okay, if I'm in this situation, do I do X, Y, or Z? Okay, if my back's against the goal, do I go A way or do I go B way? So all your questions are leading you towards a certain destination. But then when you're asking questions that just don't mean anything to anyone and aren't beneficial to your life in any way, shape, or form, a person who is cognizant, a person who understands life, just will just know, can read who you are as a person. So that's just a quick piece of game when asking questions, because if I did answer that question, how is that going to help you? Let's really think about that. Okay, you've now know the worst question that I've been asked. What are you going to do with that information? Like, just think about it. Just think about it.
Yeah, you know what? And I'm not going to answer the question because you said everything that could be said about the question. But I will say this. How you said that the types of questions that a motherfucker asks tells you exactly who they are, which is fucking 100% true. I know where someone's game's at based on the kinds of questions they ask. And no, you motherfuckers, this doesn't mean you guys go and start asking me some different questions, because I'm going to know who you are anyways. Don't try to fake the funk and ask some different questions now. I'm just saying, we know who you guys are based on the questions that you ask. But I want to add on to that. A woman knows who you are based on the type of conversation that you have, the type of shit that you say. So on one hand, while me and Teague know sometimes within 2 seconds who you are, and funny enough, half the time you don't even know who you are based on the questions that you ask. You think you're somebody. You ask us a question, we know who you are, and you don't. Why? Why is that? But what I'm saying is a girl will know who you are based on the type of conversation that you have. You know, you see guys, they might be asking, oh, well, what's your favorite color? Do you have any brothers and sisters? You're still on some high school shit. And then there's guys who, oh, I make this much money, I've got this job. You're on some trick shit, versus a guy who's going to talk about character and integrity and how, the real security that a woman wants isn't the type of financial security, but it's the security of knowing, the man that she's with and he's going to maintain consistency. That's telling that woman that you understand what women want. The type of conversation topics that you have, your conversation is so fucking important. And the kind of questions that you ask are really just an extension of conversation. And your conversation is an extension to the kinds of questions that you ask. Because I always ask myself these same types of questions. Questions just come to my mind all day long and I answer my own questions. Do you guys think I have somebody that I could just call right now and ask a random fucking question? I don't, and T's getting to that point too, to where he's answering questions. He's just answering his own fucking questions. I haven't gotten a question from you in a while, bro. You answer your own questions now. And that's what I told you. That's the ultimate game that you can give someone, is the game to give themselves game. So yeah, you guys, the kind of questions that you ask, and this particular individual, what's the worst question you could ask? Dude, you got access to people that have game that you couldn't get anywhere else. And that was the question you chose to ask, and there's nothing wrong with it or right with it. That just shows us that's where you're at right now. And, you got some work to do. And a woman will see that too.
They have a innate intuition which they can literally see through people. This is a healthy woman, but they have an innate sense to where they can literally see through you. And as Tony said, if you can't even see yourself, it's because you're already fumbled the bag before you even got started. So that's one thing that I'd recommend that for you to get into Tony's school for, because what he will teach you, what he'll make you realize is he'll force you to look in the mirror. He'll force you to go through every single piece of your being in order to actually deeply internalize who you are, so you can actually maneuver in a way which is congruent with your end goal. It's one of them things to where most of you think you realize, or most of you think you realize who you think you are, but you have no idea. You don't even have like a 10% of the clue of who you are. Like even we, through the questions that we ask, that you guys ask, we have a better understanding of who you are than you do. You know how crazy that is? So that's one of them things to where sometimes you gotta just sit in the mirror, just stare at yourself in the mirror, bruv. You have to stare into your eyes and just really piece yourself together. Because if you don't go about doing that inner work, if you don't go about doing the things that you don't want to do or the things that you might think are useless, it's just going to be a constant uphill battle for you.
And the women see it too, man. Make no mistake of that. They know exactly who you are. They know exactly what you're about. Just like you said, they have an innate ability to know exactly who they're fucking dealing with.
Steve, let's get a few more questions out of the way. So someone said, how and where to find a mentor? So first things first, this lets me know if you haven't listened to episode 2 of the game, or not the game of the dose. There's that. But just to answer the question succinctly, you can either pay for one or you can position yourself to be able to find one. So pay for one. So for example, I pay for a sales mentor. I'm not going to say how much I pay, but every month I pay a sales mentor and he teaches me sales and a bunch of different other things as well. And through him, that's when I'm asking questions, that's when I'm doing certain things. It's my way of investing into myself to take my game to my next level. But also with, for example, how Tony came about, I'm not going to say the exact way, but essentially we connected. I just asked him a bunch of questions at the start. I wanted to learn more about him. And then eventually, I'll never forget it because he said something like, and you find a mentor by they eventually just give you their number or you ask for the number and they start teaching you. So I just like, what's your number? And boom, it's been like 2 years ever since then. And I mean, the rest has quite literally been history.
Yeah, man, we really going down in history at this point. For the guy asking about the mentor, man, you got to realize you got to be in a situation where a mentor is gonna want to teach you. You know, for one thing, you have to make sure that you're getting the right mentorship because 99% of the information out here right now on any subject is bullshit. You know, not just the game, but any subject really. 99% of the information I see is just outright trash. You know, and to say anything more would be generous. You know, to say that it's just 90%, it's 99, 98% of all this shit is just bullshit. Especially this game. These pages, man, I can think of a handful of pages that have half-assed good information, and everything else is just garbage. You know, and it's going to set you back. So on one hand, it's like you need to be careful about who your mentor is. You know, it's a bigger responsibility for you to make sure that you're getting good information than it is for them to give you good information. You know, you have to really guard your mind and protect yourself from getting garbage information filling your mind. Then on top of that, what about you is going to make somebody who's in a much better position than you take time from their precious, valuable day to guide you? You have to already have established and shown that their investment is going to be worth something. Because anybody can just ask a question, anybody can just ask to be a mentor. But if I'm going to take the time to develop somebody, I need to know that, for one, this is the type of person that I want to be empowering, because that was a big part of why I took upon T and showed him, was because I sensed there wasn't no evil in him. You know, the type of game that I have, the type of information that I have, if I was to put it in the hands of someone very evil, they could do a lot of fucking dark shit with it. You know, you could do a lot of evil shit knowing what I know. You could manipulate someone to do anything you want. You know, so I sensed that he was actually a good person. That was the first thing I looked for. Now, not everybody is going to do that, but for the most part, people want to know that their investment is going to be a good thing. You know, people want to know that their investment is going to pay off, and it doesn't pay off in money. It just pays off in seeing someone develop. Because I had mentors, you know, and they didn't really charge me. You know, it didn't cost me anything to deal with them other than, you know, a lot of hard life lessons. But you have to put yourself in a position that someone's going to want to teach you. Someone's going to be inspired about teaching you. You know, that's part of the journey. Yeah, you're going to be dumb and you're going to be goofy and you're going to be embarrassing and you're going to ask stupid shit. That's just you know, part of learning, you know, and sometimes you don't even realize how dumb some of the shit that you were asking is until later on when you're past that point. But you know, that's not what you have to worry about. You need to worry about being somebody that someone above you is going to want to take an interest in and improve. If you're not doing anything notable, if you're not working harder than everybody else around you, and that's, you know, when you're in the beginning, that's about all you've got. you're not smarter than everybody else. You know, you're not more experienced than everybody else. All you can really do is just be working harder than everybody else. And someone worthwhile will see that. And if you show yourself to be a good student, they might take you under their wing and show themselves as a good mentor. And that's all I could really say about that.
Comes down to positioning. Like if you position yourself to show a little bit of promise, to show a little bit of just drive in you, there's going to be someone out there who's going to see that, and it's going to essentially remind them of where they were at, and they're going to be like, okay, I'm going to show this guy the ropes. I'm going to teach this guy how to go about doing X, Y, Z. But if you're just selling your ass doing nothing, if you're not even like putting yourself out there, that's a big problem that a lot of people have as well. They're not even out there for people to see, and as a result, they can't do the things that they actually want to do. And then Tony made a great point to where that's the reason why we have the syndicate. And that's why Tony has his group as well, because with the information that's at hand, in the wrong hands, people are just going to use it and abuse it. And we have a obligation to where that's not the point. We have an obligation to where people are utilizing the information in a manner that isn't going to hurt someone, a manner that isn't going to be someone's demise. Really, it's just going to elevate them. So that's why you should be getting into the groups if you're really trying to take it to that next level. If you're really trying to become something which most people can't even conceptualize. And if you're ready, DM me, DM Tony, and we'll help you get there.
Yeah, the syndicate is some powerful shit, man. You got some cold dudes in there. Those dudes are really starting to they're just really starting to show some fucking progress, man. The fact that you've gotten guys jobs and shit too. Guys are over here doing the sales things now too. I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about that, my bad. But yeah, guys are doing the sales shit too now, and it's just dope, man. It's a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. It's cool. So that's a whole bunch of game for you, man, to digest. These are one of them podcasts to where they're short, but it's almost like you've packed so much into it. There's really, truly like 3 hours of game in or like a 40-minute conversation. So, Tony, is there anything you like to plug?
Nah, man. No, not at all. Not at the moment. You know, I'm on the final touches of my audio book. I decided to release the next one as an audio version because I noticed that guys don't like to read. So I figured they could just drive along, ride along, put me in their headphones at the gym or whatever the fuck, and it'll be more convenient.
That'll be cool. I'll be sure to cop that when it comes out. But yeah, you already know where to find us. Game the Mindset for Tony. Your Apple Kings on Twitter. For me, sorry. But yeah, dig that. Stay blessed.
All right, brother.